want to take a minute and talk about Red Point to Recovery. Red Point to Recovery is my personal blog. It's my personal story. My website is www.jeconstine.com. I think I've got links to it on my profile. Definitely have links to it on the YouTube channel. It's also my name, Instagram. You can find it all by looking up Jacob Constine, Jacob Elias Constine. Like I said in other videos, I don't stay anonymous. I think everybody needs to hear my story. I think everybody needs to hear what I went through and how I overcame it. There's a lot of tragedy in my past, suffering. I was born in a little small waterfront community. The name of the community is Red Point. It's located right on the Chesapeake Bay. Waterfront community, private beach, private dock. It was a summertime paradise for everybody there. The problem with growing up in paradise is you get a false sense of reality from living in paradise. And then my mother and father didn't take the best paths in life. My father was a building inspector for Cecil County from 1989 to 1996. I was born in 1988. So for the beginning of my childhood, my father worked for the county and my mother worked for the town of Northeast. My father would lose his job for failing a drug test after a car accident. My mother would lose her job for drinking on the job. As you can probably already see, things are spiraling out of control. And it all started around 1996. I was getting ready to turn 8. November of 96, I was 8 years old. So that's really the beginning of the end. Mom and dad both lost their nice government jobs. I was raised by my grandmother. My parents lived next door. I would have to go next door and knock on the door to see my mom and dad. And sometimes they would turn me away. So I lived with my Gami. My brother called her Gom because he couldn't pronounce the G, or that something. It was mommy with a G because she raised us both. Starting with my brother and then finishing out with me. She passed away in 99. I was 10 years old. It was March. I had just turned 10. And that's really when my world crashed. There's good stuff after that, and there's bad stuff before that. But I was very sheltered from it all. You know, mom and dad did a very good job of hiding the world from me, and I was secluded in Red Point and didn't care. I had my Chesapeake Bay Retriever named Little Bit that we called LB for short. I had a 6-horse Johnson outboard motor, and I had an 11-foot Zodiac inflatable boat, and that was my reality. I would load the dog and the friends, snacks, all of that in the boat, and we would leave for days. Go out on adventures, go camp on the islands. You know, growing up on the Chesapeake Bay was paradise as a child. But the problem was while I was consumed and preoccupied in paradise, the world was slowly revealing itself to me, and I had nobody to explain it. Mom and dad were busy with themselves, and my brother started playing family at 16 when he impregnated his girlfriend at the time, and she came with a child. My brother's about 6 years older than me, so the year my grandmother died in 99 was the year that my brother got his then girlfriend, now wife, pregnant. So the world really flipped upside down for me when all that happened. Along the way, bad things would happen to me and around me, and it would all shape my future. The upbringing from my father wanted to be a modern day outlaw, and he raised us children to be that as well. My mom suffered from an alcoholic father. She herself got consumed with alcoholism. I drank socially and for fun, but never habitually. I never felt the need to drink. But I surpassed both of them, my grandfather and my mother, with my drug addiction, because I took it to new highs, or from a sober perspective, at new lows. You know, my grandfather, they'd have to trick him to rehab. I can remember they tricked my mom into rehab one time, and she left against medical advice, and then we had to go search the streets of Baltimore for her. That was great. I'll tell that story in depth sometime, but you know, 10-year-old, 12-year-old kid with dad in the middle of the night driving around Baltimore City with the windows down screaming mommy, you know, great memories. But as time surpassed, I grew to be what I thought was a man. At 15 years of age, I quit school and went to work full-time for my father's company. Learned my trade, which is I'm a cement finisher. My father, my uncle, and many other great men taught me my trade. But at 15, I was driving the work truck with no license, picking up the men, stopping at the beer store, stopping to see the drug dealer. All the things that a 15-year-old should not be doing. And then I myself took on that let's play family thing, you know, got a girlfriend and decided we were going to play house. That relationship lasted for 4 years. I sunk both our battleships on that one. Started selling drugs and using drugs, and she joined right in alongside. We went our separate ways, both continuing to use drugs. She ended up living in a tent in the woods, doing whatever's necessary to fulfill a drug habit, and I went to jail. She got a tent and I got a cage. Spent 18 months in that cage and came home to nothing. Borrowed bedroom, living in my aunt's house. About 3 weeks in, my uncle handed me a bill and said I was now responsible for it. We were borrowing my aunt's vehicle every day to drive me to work, and all of my requirements for probation and the stipulations of which. And he helped us get our first car. It was a 99 Pontiac Grand Am. My wife loved that car. About 3 months in, everything started getting real. Uncle Tommy wasn't sugarfooting it. It was, this is what we're going to do, boy. And if you don't do it, you can get the fuck out. Sorry for the language. I try not to use that, but that was his exact quote. He had had other family members come and live there with similar pasts, and they had all let him down. I was probably number 5 or number 6 that they had opened the door to, and he was just expecting to get hurt and disappointed. The one thing I can say is before he passed away, he told me that he was proud of me and that I was doing a good job. I lost mom and dad both while I was in jail. When I went to jail, I was still a drug addict. When I came out, I was a sober drug addict because I still didn't know how to learn right. So mom and dad never saw me live a sober life. So when an older gentleman like that tells you that they're proud of you and they think you're doing the right thing, it weighs on your heart pretty heavy. But I lived with Uncle Tommy and Aunt Penny for 6 months. I went and rented a room in a house that my Uncle Tommy's sister owned, and I lived there for 6 months until me and the person I was living with just couldn't get along anymore. And then I found this little crappy blue trailer. And my wife hates and loves that blue trailer, but we've got a lot of great memories there, and it was the first place we got to call home. We lived in the little blue trailer for 2 years, and then we bought our home, and we've been there for 5. We've been there for 5. If you want to see more about my story, click that follow button, leave me some comments, like the video if you choose to, share it with your people. I'm going to keep talking, keep introducing myself, keep talking about the struggles in life, my experience through addiction and recovery, and what's possible if you're willing to make the choice to change. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned. There's more to come.